What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And I'm sure you've heard by now, but I want to talk to you about it anyway. The folks over at EA and at DICE have decided to temporarily, very important here, temporarily turn off the ability to buy in-game currency for Star Wars Battlefront 2. So this came along with an apology from the folks over there at DICE and EA saying that they did not realize the state of their game was so disfavorable, which sounds like crazy talk to me because clearly they did, but regardless. And they said they were going to turn things off temporarily while they made balanced changes to the game. And you know what? I'm the kind of person that always wants to believe in the best of somebody. And I genuinely believe there's plenty of developers over there who want to make a more fair game. Not one that's just designed to guilt people and grind people out of money, but a fun game that's fairly balanced and is maybe closer to traditional games of the past. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure there's plenty of people over there that do feel that way. At the end of the day, though, I think they've pretty much proven that at least some of the people in charge, maybe a couple of the people at DICE, but certainly the people over at EA are trying to build games that are very exploitive, that are designed to, put a bunch of fun pain, as King Games used to call it, situations where you're not having fun with the game, but spending a little bit of money will make the game more fun so that you can unlock that hero or unlock that upgrade you want, get a bit of a power boost, kind of thing like that. Clearly, that's the way that EA Star Wars was designed. That's clearly how Battlefront 2 was designed, and it sucks. But fortunately, they are at least temporarily repealing that. Now, let's talk about why. Now, again, the stated intent here is to fix the game and make it more balanced and make it more pleasurable before they turn back on in-app purchases. Which, again, it's not an app. It's a video game that we paid $60 for, so I don't know what has in-app purchases. But still, maybe that is the intent, and maybe that's exactly what they're going to do. And maybe they'll take our advice since they say they're listening, and they will move all of the buyable stuff, the power upgrades and stuff like that, out of the loot boxes and credits out of the loot boxes, and instead make the loot boxes only cosmetic items. Hopefully they'll listen to me and listen to you and adopt an Overwatch loot model, or maybe never turn it back on again. That would be so much more preferable. That's clearly what players want. So if you guys are listening, let that $60 buy-in price be all it ever takes to play your game. And that very well may be the intent of the guys over there at DICE and the dev team, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But it's definitely not EA's intent. EA's intent is to milk the Star Wars license for as much as humanly possible. God knows they paid a lot for that exclusivity. So even in the apology that they issued, they assured you, we will turn crystals back on at some point. We will turn in-game currency on at some point. Just know that's going to happen. When that point is anybody's guess. I have a pretty good guess, though. I think it's probably going to turn back on right after the Star Wars movie comes out this December. I think by January, they'll have it turned back on, and maybe there will be some balance changes and stuff like that. But I really think this has to do with the fact that they have greatly upset the folks over at Disney, right? And there's a lot of different reports, and some might be true, some are not. I'm going to repeat them here, but no, take any of this stuff with a grain of salt. But it looks like just a few hours before EA made this announcement, one of the higher-ups over at Disney had a phone call with them. And certainly that phone call probably consisted of them being very upset about the fact that the Wall Street Journal and Forbes magazine and every game, and even like CNN was talking about this, and even EA was getting investigated by the government for possible putting gambling in their game. So that is definitely a negative association with the Star Wars brand. And Disney's cash cow is the Star Wars brand. Again, they paid a lot more than EA did for that license. And they definitely want to recoup their money, and they don't want to hurt movie sales because they've got to spend a lot of time making a lot of movies to make that money back. So I believe it when people say that Disney got upset and told them to turn that stuff on or turn that stuff off. I just think it's a temporary measure. I do think EA will make some balance changes to the game, but it won't be the game that we expect it to be when they finally turn it back on. I think it's going to be very close to the Plants vs. Zombies model. I hope that's the case because I did think that model was one of the worst models, but at least acceptable. It wasn't as exploitive as Star Wars was when it came to the credit grind and so on and so forth. I think they will increase the credit grind. I think it'll be a little easier to buy your loot boxes. I do think they'll continue to hide some very important stuff in the loot boxes, and you'll eventually be hit with that fun pain that makes you want to buy some of the stuff that you can't otherwise get. I think you'll unlock Darth Vader with credits, which now is doable within a couple of days of playing. But then you got to unlock all the star cards for Darth Vader. Otherwise, you're going to get your butt kicked by the other heroes. So it's still a pretty lousy design. I remain hopeful that they will completely redesign the game to be more of a loot or an Overwatch model, or maybe get rid of loot boxes altogether. But there's no way he's going to let that happen, especially if they're going to continue to develop the game and attempt to continue to do DLC. And I'll tell you, after having played Plants vs. Zombies, yes, the DLC is free, except it's all going to be locked behind credits anyway. The maps and stuff like that will be free. The game modes will be free, but any new characters or any new heroes or any new star cards or anything like that, I guarantee you it'll continue to be locked behind the credit grind. If they make the credit grind better, then maybe the game's acceptable, but otherwise, it really isn't. So do I personally recommend you buy Star Wars Battlefront 2? Probably not, because the game is still kind of designed around making that grind a non-fun experience so that eventually you'll pull out the credit card. And the game itself is pretty okay. Buggy, but pretty okay. Single-player campaign is okay. The multiplayer is a lot of fun when it's balanced. The arcade mode definitely needed a lot more work. But again, I think you should certainly wait until you know what the game is going to be like when they finally consider it to be balanced and fair, and maybe then purchase it. It's a fun game, and if you're one of those people that think you can go into the game without ever buying the in-app purchases, know that you're purposely making the game worse for yourself because you're not going to participate in the way the game is designed. And why would you pay $60 for a game that's designed to be less fun for you, right? Unless you spend even more on it. I don't know. So I don't recommend that. There's a really good silver lining here, though, and that's if gamers group together like this and we really rebel and really show them how we feel without all of the reported death threats that I misreported, the death threats and the personal attacks and stuff like that. That never is okay. But to discuss the game in a very critical way and in an open way, contacting Disney, contacting EA, contacting these developers in friendly, happy, good ways. It is a great way to get companies to listen, and EA is listening here. Now, I do think they are listening to the players a little bit because they've told me they are. They directly emailed me and directly talked to me. I've talked to developers of the company who say, we hear what you're saying, Boogie, and we're trying. We're doing our best. We want to do what the players want here, and I believe them. But even though they won't be able to give us the game that I hope that we'll get, I don't think we'll ever get that game. There is one group of people they are absolutely listening to, and that's Disney. And even though the players may not get what we want here, Disney will. So for those of you who wrote Disney and made sure that they understood the situation, for the people over at Forbes who wrote about the articles and made it a household name and a discussion that went beyond the scope of gaming, I think it's really going to have a positive impact, at least on this game, but hopefully on EA overall, Star Wars overall, and maybe, just maybe, the industry overhaul. I'm really grasping for straws there. That's the eternal optimism I have. I don't think that'll happen. I think we get another 2 years of this kind of loot box stuff and maybe government intervention before it finally stops. But hopefully we'll see some companies back up off of their plans of doing this stuff. There's plenty of companies that got away with it this year, though, because it wasn't Star Wars. It all comes down to Star Wars fans being what we are, angry nerds. Also pretty cool people, but angry nerds still. At the end of the day, though, I remain hopeful. I do feel like a number of developers over at DICE do get it. And I do think they want what's best for Star Wars and for the franchise itself and for the company itself and for the game itself. I don't think very many people over at EA get it because they've been making money hand over fist doing this exact thing. If they've learned a lesson here, I think the only lesson is we can't do this with a Star Wars game for some reason. So maybe we need to fix this one game, but we'll do it with the rest of our licenses. And that just seems to be the pitiful case of it. And I hope at least maybe some other developers learn a lesson from it. I remain hopeful that maybe Battlefront 2 will be the game that we wanted it to be by the time they're done doing all the balance changes and fixes and before they ever turn in-game currency back on. Probably not. But hey, there's always Battlefront 3 years from now. Third time's the charm. Maybe they'll get it right then. But you know what? That's just one man's opinion. I could be wrong. Did you decide to buy Battlefront since they turned this stuff on? Did it not make a difference to you? Have you played the game? Did you play it in the beta? Did you play it with a 10-hour EA Access trial? That's how I played it. I did enjoy what I played, and I really hope they fix the game so I can play more. But until then, I'm waiting. But I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments section below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon.